So 10 days no training certainly has an effect, a negative effect at that. So this weight's feeling really heavy right now. It's day 2 of the squat every day, which is not a big deal obviously, so this is not a factor, you know, I'm fatigued from that. It's just that I've kind of deconditioned in the last 10 days. All I've done is basically laid on the couch and went to work. That's all I've done for the last 10 days.
I grew up watching YouTube, and with all the time I've spent on this website, there is one person and one channel who has been especially impactful on me. A person who has allowed me to learn about many varied topics that at first seemed disconnected. Topics like the squat, lifting, life, philosophy, suffering, self-improvement, and even the passing of time. The person I'm talking about is Djuric, a man who at the time of this video has been squatting for 1,570 days. That's 4 years, 3 months, 2 weeks, and 6 days. He squatted 212.5 kilos, deadlifted 265 kilos, benched 152 kilos, and squatted 200 kilos every day for 31 days in a row. He's also a husband and father of 3 young kids, one of whom is less than a year old. He's a nurse, regularly working night shifts. He doesn't count calories, he's not on a strict diet, he doesn't take any supplements, he doesn't have a coach, and he doesn't even go to the gym that often, choosing to train at home instead. He's not someone that you would expect to have such amazing performance, or even the ability to train every day, but he is a hard worker, and a deep thinker, and he is someone with a lot of knowledge and wisdom who has a deep passion for lifting. He has used, practiced, and honed these simple attributes to achieve some amazing things, almost like a character in Skyrim. This video will explore the character of Djuric, his philosophy, his core beliefs, and how he's been able to achieve everything he has, all whilst having so many excuses not to. Chapter 1. Who is Ivan? Ivan is 36 years old, and as I mentioned, he's a husband and father of 3 children. He lives in Adelaide, Australia, and works as a nurse in a hospital. He was born in Croatia, but was displaced due to war and had to move around until eventually, when he was 10 years old, he settled in Australia. He has a background in basketball and wanted to be a professional player until he reached 20 years old, when his lifestyle and passion moved away from basketball and he started to realise that he was not cut out to be a pro player. Instead, he wanted to focus on his nursing career and studies. He still wanted to stay fit, so he fell into the gym. At first, he trained bodybuilding style with a body part split, but eventually he found strength training and fell in love with that. To this day, he can still be seen wearing NBA jerseys, and as he says, "I'm wearing my old dream while pursuing my new dream."
You guys see me wearing these NBA jerseys. I've got a lot of them, probably over 70 now. So it's kind of like I'm wearing my old dream while pursuing my new dream. The new dream is 300 kilo squat. So even though I'm not good enough to play in the NBA, I'll never be part of that dream. I'm kind of working really hard to make sure that I don't have 2 failed dreams. So every time I kind of wear these jerseys are not kind of like just colorful things that I wear. Every time I look at them, I think about my childhood, because that's really what it was.
His primary goals are a 300 kilo squat, a 300 kilo deadlift, and 180 kilo bench press. His secondary goals are 100 push-ups in a row and 30 dead hang pull-ups in a row. Some of these goals sound fairly realistic, like the 300 kilo deadlift or 100 push-ups in a row, but others might seem out of reach, like 30 dead hang pull-ups or squatting 300 kilos. I think it's important to understand that these goals are not set in stone. He simply wants to get as strong as possible on specific movements and learn as much as he can along the way. I also think that it's important to keep in mind who he is and what his life consists of outside of training, because this provides a lot of context about how he trains and why he trains. If you're not a frequent viewer of Ivan's content, then you'll soon come to learn that Ivan trains very differently to a professional athlete, or even to most people who've achieved similar numbers to him. This is because he can't train their way. He simply does not have the time or consistent schedule to train for hours every day on a fixed program, or even a few times a week. His schedule is constantly changing due to his work and family. Therefore, his training program is based completely on auto-regulation, i.e., he trains when he can, for as long as he can, and as hard as he can, every single day, while still ensuring adequate recovery and not beating himself up every day. This means some days he has a couple of hours to train after being well fed and in a relaxed state. Other days he only has 10 minutes to train after a 19-hour fast, 5 hours of sleep, and a very stressful day in the resuscitation department.
What is autoregulation? Well, I guess you can interpret it any way you want, but the way I think about autoregulation is self-regulating the program. That's how I think about it. So if you think to yourself, tomorrow I'm going to come in and hit 5x5 at 80%, and then you come in tomorrow and for whatever reason you don't feel up for it. Well, the skill of autoregulation would basically allow you to adjust the load and the reps and the volume, all of that stuff, accordingly. For instance, this morning, it's a work day, so it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Not a lot of good things happen 5 o'clock in the morning for me in terms of high volume or high intensity. So it's kind of like one of those workouts where you go in and you kind of just feel it out completely. You completely feel it out. I don't even know what I was going to do. So by the time I got here, I realized, okay, I don't have the pop, as I've defined it before. I don't feel all that explosive, all that energetic, all that stuff. I mean, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. So I just went, okay, I'm happy with the positioning that I have. So how about I do some pause squats? This is literally the decision I made 1 or 2 plates in. And so from then on, I started kind of thinking, all right, I'm going to head towards a 180, head towards, that doesn't mean I will, head towards 180 kilo ATG pause squat. Because that's what was offered for me today. My body offered me mobility. So I was quite happy with the mobility, but I didn't have the strength. So I couldn't push 190, 200. And I certainly didn't feel energetic for some high rep stuff. But the mobility was there. So I was going to say, okay, no worries. So let's hit a really mobile, dead stop squat 180.
Chapter 2. The Squat Everyday Journey. So what is Squat Everyday? The title might confuse you, and I will warn you it is quite complicated, but right now I'll reveal the details of the program. What you have to do is squat every day, and that's exactly what Ivan has been doing for over 1500 days. But that's not all he's been doing. He's experimented with countless different movements, techniques, form cues, volumes and intensities. This is one of the many benefits to training every day. He's allowed Ivan to experiment daily with his own body to learn what works for him. Combining the nature of high-frequency training with the ideology of stimulating your muscles rather than annihilating them allows him to keep a baseline level of recovery that means he can be productive in his training every single day. Ivan's Squat Everyday journey began on the 3rd of December 2019, and he eased into the process gradually, beginning with a heavy single, which was 160 kg on day 1, then following that up with whatever he feels will help him further, which was block pulls with 160 kg again on day 1. As hundreds and hundreds of sessions went by, he was able to increase his workload, reaching bigger and better numbers. For example, on day 1213, he started with clock-off press for 2 sets of 2 and then 1 with 100 kg. He followed this up with high jumps, which he theorised increases power in the squat. He then did a 200 kg back squat for 1 set of 1 for the 23rd day in a row, and finally he performed barbell curls, reaching at least 1 set of 10 with 40 kg, and I'm not sure if he recorded every set because he often doesn't. While this obviously showcases a lot of strength, some bodybuilders might scoff at suggesting this is anywhere near high volume. but as always, he trained almost all of the exact same muscles the day before and the day after. The fundamentals of his program have always stayed the same, and they are squats of varying high and low rep ranges and accessories to support this. His favourites being deadlifts, good mornings, barbell rows, barbell curls, hammer forearm prehab, overhead press, bench press, sumo deadlifts and the GHD. But his exercise variety is so wide that I could put lots more on this list. To go into more detail, Squat Every Day began with the simple idea of squatting to a comfortable single every day. So that's what Ivan started with, testing how long he could do this for, with many people in the comments section back in the day informing him of the incoming doom that his knees and lower back were going to experience. Obviously by this point he's proved the complete opposite, that high training frequency with high effort is very possible and won't harm your joints. In fact, he and many others believe that it will strengthen them, as our bodies are adaptation machines and therefore adapt to the frequent stresses. One of the other people who agrees with this statement is none other than Clarence Kennedy.
And I noticed like when I'm training a lot more as well, a lot more frequently, I can warm up a lot faster. So that was just me like getting to the gym and throwing 70 kilos on the bar, and I just started front squatting. So I got up to 150 kilos within like 5 minutes.
In the first 100 days, Ivan experimented with how much volume he could take, testing squat and hip hinge volume, as well as including pull-ups as a staple. Even this early in his YouTube career, he made some really great content, and he also started to form or express some of his key ideas that he'd learnt along the way from himself and others, including stimulate, don't annihilate, as well as changing his goals to focus on squatting as much as possible. However, something negative did come out of this time period too. Hip pain. On just day 49, Ivan started to experience a pinching pain in his hips at the bottom of the squat. He didn't know this at the time, but this pain would plague him for years, rearing its ugly head every time he pushed with too much squat volume. He does eventually figure it out after a lot of brainstorming, so don't worry too much about it. What's important about this now is that he developed a nagging injury, a perfect excuse to finish his squat everyday journey. He'd had a good run, 50 days, that's a lot of days of squatting in a row, but he didn't stop squat every day there, and he tried to fix the pain for years until eventually he did. In the meantime, he worked around the pain where he could and got on with his training. He became very demoralised around this time though, especially because he'd made so much progress so far in just a short period of this squat everyday journey. You can see this clearly on day 60, where he discusses the idea of a deload.
So I'm still far away from the 200 kilo mark that I'm sort of chasing. I think my body's, I guess you could call it, broken for the last 30 days because I've, haven't been feeling right. Everything in me is saying to quit, to kind of have a deload. Some of you guys have actually said to me, just have a deload and attack it again. I don't want to let it go just yet. I want to be smart about this or dumb about this. I want to kind of work it out as I go. So I'm going to try and work some things out. I think initially I'm going to try and continue stretching, but also kind of, as I've been doing, ease up on the back off sets. So I've been doing heaps of 3 sets of 10 at 70%. I've had a few days here and there where I've kind of loaded it up with 90% doubles. But yeah, so I feel a lot better than I did 15 days ago. I think that was the crisis point where I was just feeling super shit. But now it's kind of feeling a little bit better, but not 100% right. So 62 days in, I'm kind of disappointed about the progress of this month, that's for sure. But I am stubborn enough to continue doing this. So hopefully I get through this crisis point.
It's worth mentioning here that Ivan first began uploading videos simply to document his training progress, as well as to analyse and correct his form. And to this day, he takes full advantage of this. In this situation, he used the videos he recorded to work on his form, and that improved his hip pain. On day 81, Ivan uploaded a video addressing some of the things that have been helping with his hip pain. These ideas originated from a commenter on one of his videos, and Ivan made sure to give the guy a big thanks and shout him out in the title. This is one of the first examples of one of the best aspects of his channel, the community. To this day, Ivan reads the majority of his comments and replies to those that need it. He takes the opinions of his viewers into account, he respects their opinions, and he talks to them like normal people, something that shouldn't be rare, but personally I don't know many YouTubers that do that. For the next few hundred days, Ivan continued the grind. He started to produce longer videos, more frequently discussing the various topics that commenters asked him about, as well as sharing some of the knowledge that he was discovering. In this time period, he completed the pig squat routine multiple times on camera, with occasional vomiting. And if you don't know, the pig squat routine is a routine that begins with 20 kg for 20 reps and ends with 210 kg for 1 rep. He also took his push-ups from 30 to 55 by day 174 using Greasing the Groove. He took his squat from 180 kg to 200 kg on day 211. He experimented with deadlifting every day, and he clearly developed his discipline and willpower through training every day, often at 5 AM by this point, as well as making a video every day. In the early 300s, he started to add in some accessories and isolation work, because by this time, he learned that squatting on its own no longer is enough to stimulate progression and avoid injury. By day 365, which was the 31st of November, he strung together an entire year of daily training. That's training in the warm, training in the cold, training when it's windy, training when he's sad, training when he's happy, and most other types of training that you can think of. On day 416, he chose his channel's iconic profile picture from just a seemingly random day of squatting. And as he made his way through the 400s, he really took his channel to the next level, as he started to produce regular 5 to 10 minute videos discussing his training, current thoughts, and discussions from the comment section. All of a sudden, his videos started to take off. He was getting tens of thousands of views per video, and at the same time he was making breakthroughs in his training as well, learning more about the hip pain that was plaguing him again, learning about his own body, and experimenting with new exercises where there are upsides and downsides to his training. This period lasted for a long time, well into the 700s, and it's what I like to think of as the golden age of Ivan's channel. Not because of the progress he was making, or even what he was learning himself, but because of what he was saying and teaching in these videos. Days 400 to 700 is the period that I watched the most from Ivan's channel, and these videos especially have taught me so much knowledge that I've been able to apply into my own training as well as my own life. It seems like in every one of these videos he has a new topic or a new discovery to reveal and discuss. I can't speak for Ivan and say that this was the best period in his training, but in my opinion it is the best time period that his channel has gone through so far. Some people have likened this to Sam Sulek, and I've seen many people hail Ivan as the OG of daily training content, which I will definitely agree with. This isn't to say that Ivan hasn't had other exceptional days excluded from this period, or had any other breakthroughs in his channel, so I guess this is simply my favourite chapter from Ivan's journey. For instance, he went through a short deadlift attack during the 700s, and took it from 250 kg to 260 kg. It was around this time that he started to focus more on his posterior chain, using RDLs, sumo deadlifts, 45-degree hypers, pull-ups, and even front squats for the upper back emphasis. This clearly worked because his deadlift suddenly flew up to 260 kg, and by day 813 it was at 265 kg, which I don't need to tell you is a very impressive number. Around the early to mid 900s, Ivan began experimenting with Olympic weightlifting, not to increase his mobility or improve his squat, but simply because he enjoyed the sport.
One thing that came to my mind today was, yeah, it's interesting. The whole basketball emotional kind of memory and how akin I feel right now with the Olympic weightlifting. It's almost like I feel I'm back home. I'm finally back home. When I first started training with barbells, you know, I always looked at Olympic weightlifters. I always admired their movement and their skill, but I don't know why I never went into it. I always felt like I needed a coach. I always felt like I needed somebody to instruct me. Now I'm kind of getting around to it. I'm like, just do the damn thing. Be smart about it. Teach yourself like you taught yourself everything else when it comes to the barbell. Squats, you know, deadlifts, all that. It's all self-taught. Why couldn't I teach myself how to do that as well?
For day 1000, Ivan made a video revealing his testosterone count and blood work. In this video, he discussed his training journey so far, his feelings around the number, and fears surrounding the time passing so quickly. He also notes that he's been squatting for 1,000 days and he's still here. No exploded knees or lower back, no hernia, and no hemorrhoids from straining every day, which is actually what some people warned him would happen. There's a lot of important philosophy in that video, and an important thing that I pick out is that he started squatting every day 1,000 days before that video, and ever since then he's pushed himself in his training every single day. He also discusses his old hip pain, which he managed to get rid of by focusing more on his posterior chain. He also discusses how training in the morning before work provided him with a better mental resilience throughout the day, as well as feelings of calmness and accomplishment. Because facing that difficulty so early in the morning belittles any conflict or pressure that might be present later in the day. I won't go into too much detail about this video because we'll be here all day, but the blood test revealed that he has high testosterone and good overall health, and he does go into reasons for why he believes that's the case. Beginning at day 1060, Ivan started to become interested in running, so he introduced it into his program, starting fairly light but quickly moving to run 1,000 meters before his squatting and 1,000 meters after his squatting. This running spree lasted until day 1082, when he badly pulled his calf and had to stop. He then caught the bug again. Day 1112 was removed by YouTube because he said the S word and used it in the title, and then he lost his phone and wallet. This is one of those negative periods in life where everything just seemed to be going wrong, but we all know that he didn't quit, he just kept on swimming and made it through.
If you're a quitter, if you surrendered, that is a miserable life, man. Misery. You don't believe me? Go for it, man. Quit. Quit. See how your ego, see how your internal drive, how your sleep goes. No worries, put that shit on your record. When things get hard, the only question you gotta ask yourself is, we're gonna surrender. Is surrender easier than this shit? No, man, it's not.
Sure enough, he went through a little golden period right after, focusing on high rep bodyweight movements, and regularly performed super high rep sessions with bodyweight squats, as well as discovering vertical jumps, which he used to prime himself for squats. He gained noticeable mass in his quads, lost 4 kg, and started another 200 kg streak, this time pushing it to 31 days. And on day 20, he squatted it for a set of 3, which was a pretty big improvement. This created one of the best ongoing jokes for his channel because everyone was wondering if he'd reach 1,000 days of squatting 200 kg in a row. During this time, he was also smashing other exercises like barbell rows, clock-off presses, and of course, bodyweight squats. Shortly after this, one of the funniest and most underrated videos on his channel was released, about a bird that kept attacking him for some reason.
It becomes very apparent that really the two biggest... This guy's insane. Check this guy out. So this guy all morning has been threatening to come and poke me in the eye while I'm squatting. He just walked straight past me. You know what? I'm not scared of him other than the eyeballs. So let me put some freaking goggles on. Now, the only thing I'm scared about... What the hell is he doing? Jesus fucking Christ. What the fuck is wrong with you, man? okay, the conjugate method, special exercises. What can I do to kind of help me? That's him. He wants to get in.
Something that you'll have noticed if you had also been following along with Ivan at this point is that the channel's views had dropped off considerably, and after his golden period of getting at least 10k views a video and occasionally 100k and up, he was now only gaining around 4 to 20k's per video. This didn't really have much of an impact on Ivan's videos, and he hasn't tried to change his content at all because it's always been just a hobby for him. He continues the grind because what's the alternative? There's probably things he could do to improve his content, and I can think of many reasons why he doesn't get the views he used to. The rise in oversaturation of daily training content that comes from people replicating Sam Sulek, or his videos just not being as visually appealing because he doesn't go to the gym too much anymore and he doesn't try to appeal or show off to his audience, which I think to a certain extent an ultra successful YouTuber needs to do. Around the 1300s, Ivan went through a bit of a quiet period on his channel, making shorter videos, focusing on smaller things like mobility, creating his own squat everyday jersey, and experimenting with getting his hip flexors super strong. By the time he reached day 1460, he was pushing his bench press and making amazing progress. However, he did find that it was conflicting with the mobility required for his Olympic weightlifting. So, as of recently, he's dropped the bench, partly because of this, and partly because he just doesn't love the lift. I think it's safe to say that if Ivan loved the bench press as much as he loved the squat, he'd be a world record holder by now. By day 1500, he'd progressed his Olympic lifts very well, and his mobility had increased a lot as well. Although I will say that Ivan's Olympic weightlifting is quite controversial, because most experienced Olympic weightlifters suggest starting from scratch and focusing purely on addressing overhead mobility in internal and external rotation, as well as hip and ankle mobility, which allows the lifts commonly performed by Olympic weightlifters to be performed easier and to progress much faster and more naturally. We're now getting very close to the present day, so I'll go into a little more detail as to Ivan's recent training style. For the past few months, Ivan has been focusing on a new strategy to build his squat. To put it simply, he's attempting to increase the number of reps he can perform with 180 kg to 20. He's been putting his all into this, and it is clearly working, as his best has moved from a set of 6 to a PR of 13 reps. His reasoning for this style of training is that high reps have always helped him get stronger. If you want to see the method behind his madness, then go and watch some of his most recent videos, because he's been explaining his thought process in exact detail, reading comments that are giving him suggestions, and explaining how he came to the conclusion that this would work for him. I feel like I have to show one of these AMRAP sets because watching a man push himself that far is crazy to watch, and it shows you what truly training hard is like. It's not some showy TikTok video with loud music and the saturation pushed all the way up. It's just the raw footage and audio.
5 minutes later. You know, I thought about that 12th rep.
Ivan doesn't even listen to music while completing these AMRAP sets, which is crazy to most gym rats. I think his reasoning for this is the same reason why he doesn't drink caffeine before he trains. If you need to listen to music while you perform a really hard set, do you want it bad enough? His motivation doesn't come from music or chemicals, it comes from his drive. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that if you take pre-workout or listen to Brazilian funk when you train, you aren't working as hard. But what I am saying is that you can become dependent on it until it makes zero difference in your performance. So Ivan simply chooses to forget about external motivation or making things perceivably easier, and he focuses on the internal, i.e. the tombstone, his inspirations, making his kids proud, achieving his dreams, so on and so on. The next notable thing about his recent training is the increase in muscle mass in both his lower and upper body. All the high quality volume that he's been putting into his squats recently has led to a big increase in lean mass in his quads and glutes especially. Ivan also started using a hammer to perform all the small movements that the wrist and forearm is capable of, as well as adding curls into his program in order to avoid pain and injury in his forearms, which he has suffered with previously. I think this has led to him enjoying bicep and forearm training, and he's been progressively overloading it well. This combined with his recent success with the bench press and a slow and steady calorie surplus has morphed him into a self-proclaimed 103 kg monster, as seen in his most recent physique update. And he's not wrong. Even though his views have not gone up, to me this is another mini golden period, just because of all the recent physical and mental breakthroughs that he's had, as well as how focused he is on the current 180 grind. In the quiet times like this, the true fans are still watching and waiting in anticipation for a new PR.
So I'm using a weight that is much less than I'm capable of, 60 kilos. And I'm honestly trying to feel the traps and the lats contract. And with 60 kilos, I feel a better contraction than with 80 or 100 kilos. A lot of people have said to me, Ivan, you need to do more weight. I can do more weight. In fact, I've done 140 kilo freaking barbell row. What does that look like? In my opinion, shit.
Chapter 3. Ivan's Philosophy. So why has Ivan squatted for so many days? He's answered this question himself many times, but to truly understand why Ivan has squatted for so many days in a row, we first need to look at and understand his philosophy, as the two are directly linked. His core beliefs that have had a direct impact on squat every day as I have seen them are: what's the alternative? Practice your sport, striving for self-improvement, suffering, passion, love, experimentation, illusory time, his tombstone, and my suffering is nothing. First of all, let's look at his relationship with self-improvement. Ivan is always striving for self-improvement, whether it's making his squat more vertical, adding reps, adding weight, using form cues, getting stronger in all ranges of motion, but also in a more general sense. Ivan wants to callous his mind. He wants to train his ability to take punishment, to go through hardship, to be a better man. And if you pay attention to his training, his strategies are plain to see. The best example of this, other than training every day, would be all of the 5 AM sessions he's accumulated over the years, because you can't tell me or Ivan that these have not had an impact on the rest of his day, his outlook on life, and his self-confidence. Another way that he seeks difficulty in his training is through super high rep work. As I said earlier, Ivan has always made great gains when he's applied high reps to his training, but there are more benefits to it than simply physical. Ivan calls it getting into a hurt locker, which is a funny analogy, but what it means is that for those 2 or 3 minutes that you're under the bar doing high rep squats, it's just you and pain, and after the set, only after you've given it everything, you come out the other side as a slightly different person, because the pain that you might feel in the rest of your day, or what you've already experienced that day, will feel much less intimidating. Most people avoid high rep compounds like the plague, especially squats, because they're so tough, but that's exactly why Ivan doesn't. Occasionally, Ivan likes to apply a strategy to his training to avoid anxiety beforehand and to force himself to do it, which is to spring it upon himself after he's warmed up. This way he doesn't have to plan it, which can lead to putting it off or attempting to avoid it. Ivan believes that suffering has purpose, and even that it can be used to develop the ability to endure. This leads me on to another one of Ivan's greatest philosophies: the couch is a liar. One of the best things that I've taken from Ivan's channel, although it might seem like a small observation at first, is the idea that the couch is lying to you. We call them sofas or settees where I'm from, and guess where you think I'm from in the comments if you've gotten this far. Rather than telling you Ivan's opinion on this, I'll let you hear it from his own mouth.
Basically, the body lies to you. Now, I'm almost squatting, 2 years in a row every day. One thing that I've learned is that your emotional stance, your perception of how you feel about your body, about life in general, is probably not reflective of what's actually happening. Whether it's dramatized for the worse or for the better, it is a very inaccurate feeling. Today, I felt like shit. I woke up lethargic. Basically the best word I can come up with is to describe this is just flat. I felt flat today. I wasn't expecting to do anything. 60 kilos felt crap, 100 kilos felt crap, everything felt crap on the way in the deadlift. But 180 moved, just like 60 moved, 220 moved, 240, all moved. But my perception of it is, it feels shit. But when I look at the damn video, I'm like, well, Jesus Christ, man, if I didn't know this guy myself on the video, I would be like, man, you got room to push more. I don't, like, if you didn't give me the information that that this guy, me, pulled a PR yesterday, me looking at this footage, I'm like, your speed on the bar is pretty good, you should load a bit more. So it's very hard, very, very hard to understand what's going on. This is why I always say to you guys, if you feel like you want to train, if you don't feel like you want to train, freaking train. Just go over to the bar, put it on your back, put it on your hands, whatever the hell you're doing, warm up and see the footage, see how it feels, see how it moves. Not even how it feels, man. It's probably going to be a lie how you feel.
This simple understanding allows him to get into the garage or gym on those days and times that he doesn't want to. It might seem obvious when you aren't currently procrastinating, but your mind will lie to you. It will come up with all the excuses it can when you're enjoying comfort and dreading discomfort. Keeping this idea in mind increases the chance that you'll get some high quality work in, because this technique only requires that you check in with your body to test how capable it is for work. If you really are too fatigued and will benefit more from total rest than blood flow and movement, then you can stop after a quick warm-up, but that's usually not the case. After this session, you'll have sent some blood into your muscles and connective tissue, which will improve your recovery time when compared to just being completely idle. You'll also have gone through some discomfort and worked towards self-improvement. Your mind wants comfort. It doesn't want you to train, and it doesn't want you to be stronger. It wants you to be safer. Keep this thought in your mind on those days when you sat on the sofa considering training. One of my favourite quotes from Ivan that I think about frequently is that life is 90% mental.
Life is 90% mental. I've come to realize that probably when I hit my 30s. I had some inkling about this thought earlier, but now that I've kind of hit my 30s, I fully understand that it's all mental. It's your ability to process stress, adversity, obstacles, challenges. It's your ability to coping mechanisms. You'd be a fool to think that I don't have struggles, I don't have lazy moments, I don't have moments where I wake up 4:30 in the morning and go, screw this shit, man. I just want to sit in bed here and lie down and sleep. I've only had 4.5 hours sleep. I can't be screwed going over to the damn garage and squatting something that is going to be far away from anything exciting, just putting in empty work. But I get up and I tell myself, shut up, put up with being uncomfortable. Discomfort is something that is absolutely required for you to get ahead. You need to be uncomfortable. You need to develop the ability to just take it. Simple as that. Take feeling crap. Why do children cry and carry on all the time? The moment they don't get something they want, they cry. So adults, they have kind of developed into full men or women, and they don't get something that goes their way, they just cry about it. How do we cry? Oh, screw it. I'm going to go to the gym. Oh, screw it. Give me another bowl of ice cream so I can down that. Screw it. I have this. Oh, screw it. My femurs are too long. Oh, screw it. My hands are too small. I can't hook grip. Screw it. That's crying. You're crying. Like a little bitch. You're just crying. Kids cry and you whinge. We don't care. Nobody cares. I told you. What I think about in moments leading up to a PR, I think about my tombstone. I think about my gravestone. I think about how no one gives a shit. Life is going. Time is ticking. It's up to you whether you're going to do something about it or not. That's fine. You go into your corner and have a tanty. Have a tanty all day long. Every single day. Every time somebody pisses you off. Oh, my wife pissed me off. Or the dog is barking all night. I can't sleep. I'm not going to go to the gym because those are the reasons I don't feel good. No one gives a shit, okay? No one gives a crap. You think you're the only one that has mental troubles or obstacles in life or adversity that you have to deal with? You think you're the only one. What do you think separates the people that are successful, people that are getting ahead in whatever field we're talking about here? We're talking about Olympic weightlifting, or weightlifting, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, whatever you want to call it, bodybuilding. We're talking about that. But you think so what do you think successful people... Well, what do you think the secret ingredient is? They just do it, man. Whether they feel shit, sad, happy, excited, not excited, over it, they get in there and they put in the work. And guess what? After 365 days, that is a shit ton of time that has passed. You've just done meaningless work, you might think. But biology is ticking along. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. It's ticking along. Adaptations are being created every single second. Whether you're loading 50%, 2%, or 100% of your 1 rep max, it is better than adapting to the damn couch. Because when you're sitting on the couch for 24 hours watching Netflix, what do you think your biology is doing? We need to adapt to this damn couch. Okay, that's what this guy is telling us to do right now. Just get over it, man. Get over it. You're gonna feel sad. You're gonna feel shit. You're gonna feel like, screw this. Can't be asked doing this.
As you heard, he states that life is a grind, and most of the time we live our lives working towards something. Ivan believes that in order to succeed in life, it requires you to have a good ability to process stress, adversity, and challenges, and this is exactly why he takes pride in enduring suffering in his training and in pushing his mind as well as his body, because it can only make the rest of your life easier, because it heightens your ability to process stress. If life is 90% mental, then the majority of the time it is our response to the situations that we are in that shape our well-being. Something that helps Ivan push through the difficulty and hardship that he faces in and related to his training is another belief that is key to Squat Everyday's success. And this one is not a technique or an answer, it's a very simple question. What's the alternative? This simple question has helped me more times than I can remember because it forces you to be real and direct with yourself. It almost gives you the option to quit. It copies it out on a piece of paper, pushes it towards you and says, these are your two options. You can put some work in and make it just another day, a shit day, but just another day nonetheless. Or you can quit. But you have to come face to face with the idea that this is just too hard for you. You don't care too much about the results anyway, right? Or do you? If you're gonna quit, then you have to understand why you're quitting and what that means, and that is powerful. For Ivan, this question opens up a can of worms. In his own words, it releases a cascade of thoughts that he's built into his psyche. These thoughts lead him to a few realizations. One of them is that he loves this shit. He loves squatting, he loves to train, and sometimes you need a tough day or some tough times to remind you of that. Ivan has said many times that he would love to be a pro athlete, to have the ability to train all day, every day. When he's had the time, he's done sessions up to 3 hours long, and he's squatted for 1,588 days in a row. But even he has had bad days, and even he has to remind himself why he's doing what he's doing. I personally believe that when you're putting so much effort into something, every now and then the body needs reminding why you're doing it. And Ivan has become a master at this. He's mastered the understanding for his passion. He, like myself and many of you watching this, wants to be able to train until the day that he dies, and he knows that he'll do everything in his power to make this a reality. At the same time, he also loves watching other people train, which leads me on to my next section of this chapter, his inspirations. And I'm placing this part in this chapter because his inspirations have a direct impact on his own philosophy. They help to put himself into perspective, and he's drawn a lot from them. So who are his biggest inspirations? Well, there's a lot, and I might miss some, but I'll try my best. Although I won't go into too much detail because this video is about Ivan, not Klokov or Mike Tyson. So I'll just state briefly how they're important to Ivan. First of all, I have to mention Kobe Bryant, a pro basketball player who died tragically in January 2020. He was widely regarded as one of the best players in the history of basketball. He believed that he would become a superstar, and he was known for the Mamba mentality, which, in his own words, is a constant quest to try to be better today than you were yesterday.
Woke up after 4 hours of sleep, so I went to bed at 9, woke up at 1. And I'm laying there in bed, looking at the wardrobe, thinking about what jersey I was going to wear and what type of session I was going to have. And then I started thinking about day 800, and then I started thinking about day 8, or number 8 rather. And then I started thinking about Kobe. And then all of a sudden I had a surge of motivation, a surge of energy, a surge of aggression within me. Got up, put Kobe's jersey on, and I came out here with an expectation to give it a really good go today. Really good go. And then set after set, I kept thinking about that energy, the theme of today, Kobe. You know, what a work machine he was, what a champion mindset, the Mamba mentality. With, you know, some of you guys that have followed the NBA will know what type of mental state he had for his career and his life. Black Mamba, right? He had an aggression about him. He didn't care about the last shot. He didn't care about, you know, the bad media coverage. Even when he was a rookie, when he was in the first 2 years, like in the Lakers, he didn't do all that well. Man, I remember, you know, that first rookie season, he was like shooting air balls left, right, and center. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't doing good, but he didn't care because he trusted the process. He trusted the work. He trusted his inner drive.
Next is Michael Jordan, who we all know is infamous for his work ethic. He was known for practicing religiously and putting in maximum effort at all times, whether it was simply a run-of-the-mill training session or an actual game. I also have to mention Mike Tyson, who Ivan admires for his drive to win, work ethic and sheer passion. Ivan also takes a lot of inspiration from Olympic weightlifters, whose squat techniques he admires, and in his own way he aspires to emulate their techniques. His favourites being Klokov, Lou, Tion Tao and even Clarence Kennedy. Ivan also finds a lot of inspiration in history, for many reasons, my favourite being his understanding that we in the Western world have it so much easier than our ancestors. When he finds himself feeling downtrodden or sorry for himself, he thinks of those who came before him, men who lived in cold, wet, dangerous trenches for months at a time, or the people who carried boulders onto the pyramids. This allows him to put his hardships into perspective and to understand how insignificant his plight is. Ultimately, this allows him to pick himself up and get more work in. Finally, I have to mention Ivan's father. Ivan's dad introduced him to fitness and the physical capabilities that our body has. I think that's beautiful in itself because it reminds me of one of the reasons that I train hard, because I can. In my opinion, we should move and progress our bodies because we can. Physicality is a gift and you may not have it forever, so do lunges in the park and knock out random sets of push-ups because you can. I also have to mention him because we can see that Ivan is trying to do the same thing with his kids. I will speak for Ivan here and say that he would love to see his kids get into weight training or any physical fitness of some sort, but he never forces it on them. He just lets them watch him and he makes it a fun time, so they join in every now and then. And sometimes he helps them with the form and asks them to do some bodyweight squats with him. I can definitely see that as they get older, they'll be interested in physicality in some way. And we may even get to see this, as they might even have some part in his YouTube channel. Ivan has hundreds of inspirations, more than I can mention here, and I may have even missed some big ones. But what I can say for certainty, and what I've tried to show you, is that Ivan's inspirations come together to form a massive part of his philosophy. His everyday actions, his personal aspirations, and his outlook on life. I hope that you can find inspirations of your own and use them for similar purposes, as I think this is a very powerful tool. I can think of a few people that I find particularly inspiring and that have had a direct positive impact on my life. I'm making a video on one of them right now. Chapter 4. Why you might want to watch Ivan Djuric. There are a lot of reasons why I might recommend that you watch Ivan's channel, and if I went into detail I might be here all week. He's not a perfect man, he doesn't have a perfect channel, he doesn't even have a perfect squat, and that's what he's known for. But if you have any interest in learning more about any of the following topics, then maybe give him a shot. Watch a couple of his videos and let him know I sent you. I'd appreciate it, because I hope to have some impact on him because of what he's done for me. Secondly, I want to summarise the biggest lessons that I've taken from Ivan that have had the biggest impact on myself, because if I can learn this much from this channel, then hopefully you can too. First is the question he asks himself: what's the alternative? Which I of course spoke about earlier, so I won't go into detail about that again. Second is the idea that there's beauty in suffering, but still pushing forwards because you truly care about something, because that is heart. Next is his assertion that life is 90% mental. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond, excluding extremes of course. After that is the idea that you just need to grow up and realise that you don't have it harder than anyone else. And that's not to say what you're going through isn't tough, but there are billions of people who came before you who also had it just as tough, and millions who are experiencing something just as tough right now. So chill out, get up and soldier on. The biggest lesson that I've learnt from Ivan would have to be all the training tidbits that I've caught from him, like how to mentally deal with an injury that's not only stopping your progress, but actively causing you to regress. I've also learnt a lot about the mechanics of the body because of him, from his experience as a nurse, but also because he has a lot more training experience than me. I've learnt that movement is medicine and can be used to actively treat the body. Finally, I've learnt how to think outside the box and not to blindly believe what others tell you. People tell you that you can't train every day, that you can't max out every week, that you can't surpass your natural limit. I now know all of this is BS, but some people spout it like it's gospel. I have an open mind, and I'm open to being completely wrong about most things, and that's partially because of Ivan, because he goes against the grain, but he also listens to everything his community has to say. Thank you to everyone who watched this video, it took a lot of effort to make. Good luck to Ivan, I know he'll continue to achieve because it's just a part of who he is at this point. 220 kilo squat is coming soon, mark my words. Also, please let me know if there's anyone else that you'd like to see a similar character documentary about, although I do have quite a few ideas already, so stay tuned, keep training and keep squatting. Peace out, man.